Okay, welcome. My name is Pat O'Donnell. I'm a volunteer with Croí, and to mark Mayo Day, which is a virtual Mayo Day this year because of COVID-19 restrictions, this is happening on May the 2nd, and in conjunction with that, Croí, the Heart and Stroke charity organisation, have put together this video. So I'll introduce the members of the panel and those who are going to participate in this. First of all, we have Dr. Jim Crowley, who's the medical director with Croí and a cardiologist associated with University Hospital in Galway. We have Patricia Hall, who's a cardiovascular nurse with Croí. And we have Martin Carney, former Mayo star, Donegal star and pundit at the moment. And then down at the bottom of the screen here, we have Andy Moran, recently retired Mayo star, who's always willing and able and has lent a hand to Croí on several occasions. And last but by no means least, we have James Horan. James is normally not available for these kind of things because he's tied up with football, but again, because of COVID-19, we have a bonus and we get James involved in something like this. So thanks to all the guys for getting involved. As I said, this is a video that Croí are putting together to link with Mayo Day, and it's really to highlight the third age in Mayo. Croí would have, they do a lot of very good work on the ground with their nurses getting out into the community. For example, Mayo Day 2019, it would have been in Turlough House doing some screening of the public as part of Mayo Day. That can't happen this year. So we decided, Croí are trying to be creative at the moment. They've done an awful lot of work and put a lot of very good stuff up on their website in terms of creative ways of keeping people active, keeping people healthy with the COVID restrictions. And I'd highly recommend that you visit the Croí website. It's croí.ie, and you'll see lots of videos, etc. there, which are very helpful in terms of keeping fit and staying healthy. So what is the Croí Third Age Mayo project? Basically, it's focused on 55-year-old and above. Mayo, above all other counties, has a higher percentage of their population above 55 years of age. The World Health Organization tells us we are going to live longer. So unfortunately, as we age, the cardiovascular disease becomes more prevalent. Things like high blood pressure, heart valve disease, heart failure, and atrial fibrillation. These are all diseases which have silent symptoms, but yet with relatively simple tests and checks can be detected, and intervention can take place, which can have really good outcomes for people. So the whole thrust of the third age is that we target people who are 55 above and make them aware of the need for them to take ownership of their cardiovascular health. We launched the Mayo Third Age at the Mayo Kerry League match in about 2 months ago. And thanks very much to Mayo GAA. They have nominated Croí as one of their health partners earlier this year. And for that Mayo v Kerry match, for the launch of the Third Age, we actually had a special jersey commissioned, and thanks very much to Elvery's. They allowed us to put Croí and the Check It Sorted message on the jersey. And I know these jerseys went down very well. And actually, at the end of this video, Patricia will talk to us about an opportunity where we're going to raffle. I think it is 2 jerseys for people to potentially win. So that's a nice little bonus at the end. So as I said, the Third Age was launched at the Mayo match, and the message really is, own it, check it, sort it. And by that I mean own it is, being proactive, taking responsibility for your health and well-being. Check it, in other words, know the risks and engage with the medical professionals, and then sort it. Take control with appropriate actions and keep healthy for longer. So as I said, we are going to live longer. So the idea is we live longer, healthier, which allows us personally, I put myself in this category because I'm now 60, to enjoy life, ourselves personally, but also to be able to help family and indeed make an active contribution in the wider community, which is something that's very important to people as they get into the third age of their lives. At that point, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to hand over to others. Maybe if I could bring Dr. Jim Crowley in first. Maybe, Jim, you could talk to us about from a medical perspective, cardiovascular disease and aging, and the importance of owners check it, sort it.
Thanks very much, Pat. I'm delighted to be involved with this project with Croí to try and highlight the risks of heart disease in Mayo. And certainly when I work in the cath lab and patients come in with heart attacks, I would say that the highest number of patients that we see come from Galway and Mayo, from the whole out of the whole region. So it is a common problem. And as we know, cardiovascular disease is the most common cause of death in Ireland today. It remains bigger than cancer, more important than cancer in terms of the number of patients who are dying from this problem. And it affects people in two ways. One is, two major ways at least. One is by causing blockage to the arteries that supply the heart, which leads to heart attack. And the other is by causing blockages in the arteries that supply the brain, which leads to stroke. And we see all the time patients coming in as an emergency who are feeling unwell after they've developed chest pain or they've developed signs of stroke. And from the heart point of view, they come into us as an emergency feeling very unwell. They're brought directly to the cath lab where we do angiograms and we're able to see the blocked arteries and open them up. And in some patients, we can certainly make a good job and they do very well afterwards. In other patients, they're left with permanent damage. And unfortunately, there are a group of patients who we never see at all. And these are the patients who unfortunately don't actually make it to the cath lab at all because they have a cardiac arrest before they get to hospital. And these are a very important group of patients. And we look at different ways, and we've invested enormous funds across Ireland and across the world to try and deal with people who have the emergency situation where the artery is already blocked off. And certainly that can be very effective. It requires a huge investment. The ambulances have certain protocols that they follow in order to get patients as quickly as possible to the regional centres. There's a team of physicians and nurses and specialised in cardiology who are available 24/7 to treat these patients and to try and reduce the effects of the heart attack. But most importantly, we know that if patients have managed their own risk factors, this will significantly reduce the risks of developing a heart attack in the first place. And this is really what the third age is about. Because we know that heart attacks occur most commonly in patients over the age of 55. And we know that if the patients have high cholesterol and cigarette smoking, and if they have high blood pressure, and if they have diabetes, they're overweight, they don't do much exercise, we know that these individuals are at much, much higher risk of developing heart attacks. And we know also that if you change your lifestyle and improve it, that these risk factors significantly reduce and the mortality from heart disease reduces. So it's a really something that patients can do themselves, which can have a huge impact on their own lives and also on their day-to-day living. They'll feel a lot better and the risk of heart attack will fall, and not only their length of life will increase, but their quality of life will be much better.
Yeah, I think as well, Jim, Jim, you had mentioned at one stage as well in the past about the impact of COVID-19 and the potential for people maybe to be anxious about coming into hospital at this time. Maybe you just comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, what we have noticed across the country is there's over 50% reduction in people who are coming in with heart disease as an emergency. And this is because I think many people feel that they're at high risk of getting COVID by coming into hospital. And also, in many cases, they feel that their symptoms are not that severe and they would prefer to avoid hospital and to probably not increase the workload of people that are in hospital. But there have been pathways created for patients coming in with heart disease and with other conditions, and patients who are not at risk of COVID. And there are separate pathways for those patients to come into hospital and to avoid other COVID patients. So it is really important that patients who think that they may have heart problems, if they're getting chest pain when they exercise, or if they're getting significant symptoms at rest, then they do need to consult a doctor or get in touch with the hospital, and they do need to come into hospital, because the risks of a heart attack are much, much higher than the risks of COVID, of the COVID virus. And so we're trying to get the message out that if you think that you have a heart problem, you shouldn't wait. You shouldn't wait till the COVID crisis is over. You should try and contact your GP, or if you're feeling unwell, then you need to contact an ambulance and you need to get into hospital, because the facilities are there, the expertise is there, and the pathways are there. And there are beds available in the hospital free of COVID, so that patients can be managed appropriately.
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Jim. And I think the key message there is people taking responsibility, not only for their health, but if they have an issue, to present to the medical professionals at this time and have it dealt with. Maybe switching to you, Andy. You're very much involved with health and fitness through the movement, Jim. Talk to us maybe about how the COVID-19 restrictions are impacting on what you're doing and what you would have been doing in the past, and what change has been made. Sorry, Andy, you're on mute.
Sorry, Pat. We closed our doors on Friday the 13th, would you believe? March, Friday the 13th. So it was an unusual day. And for I think like where people could come to us in the past and ask us our advice, what we're trying to do is just try to get information out there to people as best we can. For the importance of exercise on your, I suppose, your mental health, but also your cardiovascular health. And that's what we're really trying to do. What we've done every day is put a class up online, a circuit kind of class, but we've also coupled that with restricted movement classes for seniors, we've done Pilates, we've done yoga, and we've done PE classes for kids, so that we're trying to catch everyone in it. And the reason for that is, if we look at an average day of person at work, so any of us at work, we all have these kind of Fitbit watches and stuff like that, and we're obsessed with our steps and little things like that. But on average, it's said that your steps are about 8,000 steps per day when you're at work. Now, when you come away from work and you're only doing your bits and pieces around the house, your steps actually go to 2,000 on average steps a day. That's what the data is telling us. Okay, so that's a huge decrease straight away. And on top of that, I know I have 2 kids here. You're picking at the kids' food, you're snacking a tiny bit more, and your lifestyle changes significantly. So if we can kind of adapt it and change, like what the doc was saying there, we can change what we're doing at home now. It's going to have a huge impact on us moving forward when we go back to work, because we'll have a bigger kind of focus on it. And like if I drank too much, someone would tell, we know that that's not good for you. If I suppose, ate too much, you'd see the signs on yourself. Mm-hmm. But if I'm sitting too much, if I'm sitting down too much, that's not good for you either. That's not a good thing to do. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do, we're just trying to encourage and teach people how to move. Yes, we're putting classes online, but what I'd be encouraging, Pat, is that people are getting out, they're getting walking, you're getting your fresh air. That covers 3 things. It covers your cardiovascular, gets into the fresh air, and it clears that bit of mind space that you need as well, And I mentioned work, and we are on about the third age, but a lot of us work, we're 55, you don't finish working. So that 8,000 steps really caters for all of our kind of categories as well,
Sure. The other thing that you just covered there, and that's well proven at this stage, is that you don't have to have a gym to maintain a level of fitness and activity. You can actually do it in the comfort of your own home, and you can get very creative.
Yeah, you can get creative, and particularly I know myself, I have 2 young kids here at home. It's very difficult to get that, and sometimes when you're trying to do your work, the kids are, they're in under you and they're messing with you and they're tackling you and things like that. It's difficult. So I would encourage 20 minutes, Pat. It can just make all the difference. 20 minutes can make all the difference to you throughout the day. And I would encourage, get it done in the day as early as you can, because once you get it done, the whole day will be fine then from that. I know Martin is a great man to go and get his walk done early in the morning, but it sets up your day for you. So if you can get up early, get your little bit of exercise in, you'll probably go for a second bit of exercise during the day. And I just think it's huge. And now, like them stats that we're on about Mayo and Galway being, one of the highest around for cardiovascular, I really do believe in this message that we need to get it out there. And I think we've seen the reaction before the Kerry game, the reaction we got. There is an awareness. When you hear TJ Kilgannon and these guys and Martin and yourself talking about it, I think it created a huge awareness of the need to really check it, own it yourself, and then to go and sort it then thereafter,
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Andy. Moving on, I suppose, to you, James. You deal and would be normally dealing with a group of elite athletes, and fitness and performance would be very much your focus this time of year. You'll be in the midst of the championship and all of that. But what's it like right now with COVID-19 for that group of players, or without the element of collective training, etc.? And maybe talk to us about, irrespective of whether is not collective training, how they have to take personal responsibility, the players themselves, for their fitness and health.
Yeah, and firstly, thanks, Pat, for inviting us on. Delighted to be here. As you say, have a break from football, so that's pretty okay. We should be playing Leitrim the weekend after next. Really, all going by the old world. So we're obviously a long way from that, and we haven't collectively trained as a group for a number of weeks now, for well over 3 weeks. So it's very unusual times, because I suppose the guys that play for Mayo, or guys that are involved in high performance and inter-county squads, are they're very ambitious, very keen guys who would train and operate pretty much every day, or would have some activity every single day to try and develop themselves or their game or their fitness. So to go from that regimental approach to really structured and routines, to go from that to pretty much nothing collectively or nothing organized as a unit or as a group is a huge change. A huge change for them. So, but at the same time, they're just doing it a different way. Andy, yourself mentioned creative. You mentioned you don't need a gym. All those things, and all those are so true. So while the guys are not training collectively, they're still doing individual work. So that might be, push-ups in the front room when you're watching TV, or it might be, sit-ups with the kids out in the other room, or it might be jogging around the garden. I see, Colin Freeman did a marathon recently around his garden down there. So there's so many ways. I remember a coach I had before telling us that you could get very fit sitting in the car in traffic. There's a number of things you could do with your legs, or stretches, or development you could do. So there's always lots of different things and different ways you can do from a physical point of view. I suppose a big element of it as well is the mental aspect of it, and I suppose maybe the release that sport and a collective sport gives you. So that's missing as well. So it's just something to factor in as well. But look, very motivated guys. You never ever, or I've never ever had to tell them to train. The individual responsibility they take and is huge. They understand the benefits of it, not alone from their performance as footballers, but just general life and general living, healthy and strong. So they would take that on themselves. And if they weren't playing football now, Pat, they'd still be very conscious and aware of the benefits of diet, nutrition, sleeping patterns, general walking, movement, all that kind of stuff. So the education that they have as a result of sport I think will stand to them for the rest of their life.
Great, thanks, James. And I suppose that leads me nicely into you, Martin, as a man who's come from with a footballing past and would have been at the very fit playing football in the past. And I know you had your own troubles with the heart. Maybe you talk to us a little bit about them and what you're doing these days to keep fit and healthy, given the COVID-19 restrictions and that.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks again for asking me on, Pat and Patricia. Basically, just my own problems with the heart. I suppose it comes from the family. My father, God rest him, my father would have had 6 heart attacks before he died. I remember first time I came on him. When he got his first heart attack, I came in from Mass and he was there sitting on the stairs, and all he said to me, just get me to a doctor. I remember taking him to a doctor, but for the next 9 years, his life quality was nothing in comparison to what it had been before that. It really took an awful lot out of him. My own experience of heart in relation, again, funny enough, had a, shall we say, a religious dimension to it, in the sense that I collapsed a couple of times at Mass. And it had nothing to do with the quality of the sermons or anything. I just collapsed. And I remember going down to a colleague of Jim's in Galway, I think it was Dr. Pate, and I had a pacemaker inserted. I think in a broad sense, I was told that my the heart rate wasn't going up, it was dropping significantly, and just if that happened in the future, the pacemaker would actually just maybe stabilize things. But basically, as you say, I've reached the golden age a while back, and I keep myself, again, it comes back to sport. I learned good habits in sport. I learned good disciplines in sport in terms of keeping myself fit and keeping myself active. And every morning at about 6:30, I go walking, summer or winter, it doesn't matter. And in winter, I walk around the town, walk around Lough Lana in Castlebar here. At the moment, like you just take this morning, for example, I would have walked from the house here over to Brady House. I haven't exceeded the 2-kilometre radius as the crow flies. And even, you know, I get a 4.5 mile walk out of that by doing the circle. But I find that that's excellent for just keeping the heart fit. The other kind of passion that I have actually probably acquired as I got older, and again probably comes back to the interest my late wife had, is that I enjoy gardening. And I had a polytunnel a couple of years ago, got a polytunnel out the back. So I grow an awful lot of my own vegetables, like things like potatoes, all of those things indoor. And I find that they actually also contribute to good eating, healthy eating. And basically, I can be self-sufficient in terms of vegetables, you know, for a nice part of the year. So all of those things, that equally, James mentioned a lot, and Andy mentioned a lot about the mental health. A lot of those are excellent for mental health as well. And but I think the main thing is to kind of take responsibility for your daily exercise, develop a routine and follow it. That's the important thing. Be creative in the way you kind of go about your exercise. And one thing I would say, keep the biscuits out of the house. I'm an absolute disaster. Like, I mean, I'm not making this up. This came before I got the phone call today from you, Pat. I threw nearly a full packet of ginger nut into the bin. I said, I cannot have those anymore because I brought in ginger nut, Kit Kat, everything yesterday, and most of them are gone. So anyway, I'm disclosing a little bit of personal weakness there.
Good man, Martin. No, that's all good to hear. And thanks, I suppose, thanks to Jim for sort of highlighting the importance of staying fit and active and all that does to your cardiovascular health. And then to you three guys from the GAA perspective, at different stages in your career and different roles in the GAA at the moment, it's great to hear the consistency of the feedback from you in terms of, you know, healthy diets, the gardening, but also staying fit, and the impact it has not only on your cardiovascular health, but the added bonus of it keeping your mental health in good shape as well. I'd like to switch now to something maybe a little lighter, and I'm going to jump on you first, James, and sorry for putting you on the spot, but I just wonder, given that, you know, we are where we are today and there's no football, where do you see season 2020 in the GAA Championship, in your own personal opinion? What do you think is going to happen?
Sure, I haven't, Pat. I haven't a clue.
No, I should say that nobody has any insight here because nobody knows, because it's going to be based on the science and the data in any case. But just like to get people's thoughts. Yeah,
I suppose I can tell you what maybe I think stroke hope will happen. And again, obviously, May 5th is a big date, and as regards, you know, what the government will outline for us and what's going to happen with enhanced controls. But I'd love, obviously, I feel for a start that some of the controls that are in place at the moment will stay with us for a while. So, you know, the social distancing, if you take that, I feel when we go back to team sport or contact sport, that there will be some elements of the controls that will be with us to reduce the risk. I think, as everything in life, you can't eliminate risk too much, but I feel there'll be some elements of those that have been incorporated. But at some stage, life has to go on, maybe, or some normality has to return. So I think there will be a return. Again, when that happens, I don't know. Hopefully, it can be sooner rather than later in a safe manner. But as I said, the controls were there. So whether that's minimize crowd, maybe minimize categories of people that can be at that as regards high risk, low risk, and some other controls. And hopefully we will have some sort of game later on this year. Now, you can't see that happening for the next number of weeks, stroke months, but hopefully at some stage we'll have something. And
sure,
if it does happen, it will be under those controls. It will be condensed. It probably will be knockout. It will be some modified version. But hopefully towards quarter 3, quarter 4, we'll see something.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, James. Andy, what are your own thoughts on what might evolve?
My first thought, anyway, is on Martin Carney and gardening. The COVID-19 has really affected my relationship with the wife because of this gardening crack. But I don't think I'll ever get the love for it like you, Martin. But it's to be honest with you, and I've said this to a lot of people, I've huge sympathy actually with the likes of James, because I don't know how, in God's name, a manager and management team can motivate a team at this present moment. It's tough. Like, there's all different kind of individuals, personalities. We've all our own personality traits. Me, myself, like, I'm very happy that I'm not part of it, if I'm being honest, because all I would do myself personally would be go to the pitch and I kick ball. I wouldn't, like he was on about doing push-ups in the front room. James was, try to stick with Paddy Durkin if that's all you're doing when you go back playing. It's, I just have huge sympathy for the likes of James and the likes of all the managers, and then the players. I think, for me personally, I do think it's coming to the point where the GAA have to give us some instruction of what's going to happen and where it's going to be. So that maybe that's take 2-3 months off. If it's going to happen in October, we'll give you a 6 weeks notice, and back in we go in October and we get it done. Because I just think it's very unfair on amateur players and management teams and stuff like that to try to keep yourself focused on your business, because it's going to be, you're in a really hard position there in any walk of life and any walk of work that you're doing, and then try to motivate or be one of those players that needs to be motivated to go play a match later on in the year. It's really hard times, but I think the GAA needs to show a tiny bit of leadership in it, and hopefully give the guys a bit of direction on what's going to happen later on in the year.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Martin, any brief thoughts before we move on or try and close this up?
No, I think, Pat, to be honest with you, the health of everyone will determine basically what will happen. I think the longer it goes on, the only thing that's certain at the moment is uncertainty itself. And my own view, I cannot see inter-county football starting at the earliest, October. And if it happens this year, it'll be a huge bonus. The one thing I don't want to see championship going on around Christmas. Because if you take the country in general at the moment, retailers are on their uppers right now. If you had championship around Christmas, you're asking people to kind of give their time to football when retailers and that are looking to get the optimum time of the year for getting a little bit of income for themselves. So if they're going to have football this year, I'd like to see it in October if that was possible, in November, and then maybe take a break over the Christmas period and have it maybe in February. But one way or the other, there is no simple solution to it. I would say club football will probably start before county football, but just everything on the other side, the discovery of a vaccine, if that came miraculously in the short term, that might change the landscape somewhat.
Okay, Thanks, Martin. I think the vaccine, unfortunately, is probably 9 to 12 months away. But anyway, that's a story for another day. Listen, thanks very much, guys. Just before we go, I just wanted to bring everybody back again to the key message from the Third Age Mayo, and that is, for your cardiovascular health, own it, check it, and sort it. I can tell you my own very personal experience in 2014. I had chest pains, which I ignored. I did not take ownership of my own cardiovascular health. I did eventually. I went in and had it checked out. I had what they call the widowmaker. The main artery on the left side of my heart was almost completely blocked. My next event would have been a heart attack, almost certainly fatal. So I'm very glad that I took responsibility, albeit belatedly, and had it sorted. I turned 60 this year, and I'm delighted that I had such a good outcome. I'd like, as I said, to thank all of you guys for your contribution. I'd like to thank Mayo County Council for the opportunity for us to do this in conjunction with Mayo Day. I'd like to wish James, if we ever do get back to football, I wish James and the Mayo team the very best of luck in their quest for the Holy Grail and bridging that gap back to 1951. Now, this was all about awareness, and this was all about sort of sharing information. Croí does a lot of exceptionally good work. They do need funds. Patricia is now going to talk to us a little bit about an opportunity to pick up one of those Croí jerseys I talked earlier on. Over to you, Trish.
Thanks very much, Pat. Thank you. And thank you for hosting this event, and thank you to everybody else there for participating in it. It's a brief snippet. It's not where we want to be. We'd prefer to be in the community, but you know, we have to get innovative. So all I'm going to do is highlight now that we have 2 limited edition Croí Mayo jerseys that Mayo GAA have very kindly got the players to sign for us. This is it. This is one of them anyway. So these are going to be available for raffle. So if you want to visit croí.ie/Mayo Day 2020, or just directly to croí.ie, the raffle is going to be open until May 15th. So you can get your raffle tickets there on that, and a chance to win one of these special once-off jerseys. So a very special possibility there, and I think, you know, we can do a lot with that as well. So thank you all again, and a special thanks also to Elvery's for facilitating these special ones-off jerseys too. So thank you very much, Pat.
Okay.
And thank you to everybody.